Hello, Honorable Seun. Happy New Year to you too.
Good to see you, man.
It's great to see you
Quite
too.
a while.
It's been a while.
So you look gorgeous even at night.
Thank you, Mr. Seun.
Good to see you, man. How have you been doing?
It's been fine, thanks. And you?
Thank you so much for welcoming us into your home.
Thank you for coming.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Micon Podcast. I am Seun Okinbaloye. Today's conversation centers around culture, creativity, and politics, an increasingly powerful space shaping Nigeria's economy and its global image. My guest tonight is Honorable Hannatu Musawa, Nigeria's Minister of Art, Culture, Tourism, and the Creative Economy. She is a lawyer, politician, and author, and one of the key figures driving the federal government's push to reposition creativity not just as entertainment, but as serious economic infrastructure. In this episode, we're taking a closer look at Nigeria's creative economy, its potential, its politics, and its possibilities, from the business of music, film, fashion, and tourism to the global spotlight of Detty December and what it really means for jobs, revenue, and national branding. We'll also talk policy, priorities, and power, our plans heading into 2026, the political temperature as 2027 approaches, and how culture is increasingly becoming a tool of influence in Nigeria's political and economic future. Honorable Hannatu Musawa joins me on the Micon Podcast on this episode. Thank you indeed, Honorable Minister, for joining us on the Micon Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Well, what a year it's pretends to be, because it seems to be a very interesting year. But towards the end of the year, last year, I caught it on social media actually, and I thought that was very interesting. It was a light-hearted moment when your ex-husband
Oh,
and the Boa Group chairman, Abdul Samad Rabiu, joked that you were the love of his life before you decided to promote yourself and leave him behind. Some people might say he's still in love with you. What happened? Did you leave him?
no. I mean, thank you. It was a very funny, light-hearted moment. You know, Abdul Samad is my family. You know, his family, my family have become one. We have known each other for over 30-something years. And we're just family, basically. And, you know, it was just jokes. Me and him tend to joke a lot. Like I said, we are family. And really, essentially, that's how we see ourselves. He's my father. He's my older brother. He's really my friend. He's everything to me. He's my protector. And, you know, he is to many, many people. So I'm very happy to have a member of my family in Samad Rabiu.
I'm very sure that you saw all the comments on social media.
Actually.
Some people say the man is still very much in love with you.
No, I actually didn't, because I actually do not read social media.
Oh,
so
really?
I actually don't know what any, I think, no, we're just family. That's
You
really
don't see the love, the chemistry.
No, we love each other because you love your family, obviously. But Samad is my brother, he's my family. That's what he is, yeah. And I'm his sister and his family too.
So beyond that, I mean, there are a lot of people perhaps who don't know about the Hanatu and the private life.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
what is family for you and a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And they thought that there was something between you and him.
No. That's my family. So obviously,
Well,
when someone
we thought it was your ex-husband.
Yeah, he was my ex. Someone is my ex-husband, but we are still family. We just happen to come from a background where once you're joined together, you continue to participate in each other's lives. And so, you know, we were married, and now we are a member. We're just family. We're like brother and sister, and best of friends.
It was so
to speak.
beautiful to watch when at that event, when he came to us, you had a hug. It was such a beautiful moment. But it's also rare to see two people who are no longer together in marriage and they still share such an affection. It was so sweet. Why do you both continue to share such warmth even after separation?
I think it has a lot to do with the kind of families that we come from. You know, his father, my father, the kind of union that we had. Of course, we come from the same community. So, you know, families all knew each other even before perhaps we were born. And, you know, we were joined. His grandmother, Haji Abua, the matriarch, of the family, is somebody that I continue to love very, very deeply. My daughter, Hadiza, is named after her. And of course, his mother is like my mother. His mother is one of the sweetest, most wonderful, purest, genuine souls that I have ever known. And, you know, so we continue to share a deep respect and a love and, more than anything, support for each other. He's my greatest cheerleader and my greatest supporter in my career. And I continue to also be his greatest cheerleader. And I shall continue to be proud to see the way he flourishes and to be proud to be associated with someone that has the kind of philanthropy and heart that Abdul Samad has. And people see him as a businessman, but I know him as a person, which is the kindest person that I know. He's just a genuinely kind-hearted, good human being. So it's really very difficult not to continue to have a good relationship.
I know you're a very creative person. You paint, you draw.
Yes,
A lot of people don't know this side of you. If you had your way to repaint some part of your past, will you repaint it in a better way with Abdul Samad?
Yeah, I guess probably yes. I mean, obviously, if you obviously married someone, you married that person because you love them, right? And you go into a marriage because you hope it's going to work. But of course, you know, man proposes, God disposes. And, you know, God has other designs for us in our lives. Perhaps had we remained married with Abdul Samad, I would not have been here, seated and talking with you. So, but I don't change our past and our travails to our future. I respect everything that God has put in my way, whether it's an obstacle, whether it's an opportunity, whether it's unions, whether it's a separation, because I feel, you know, that is all part of what has made us what we are today. And every element, any element that would have been taken out of one's past, perhaps would not have brought you into the person that you are today. So I don't know whether to think about it. I'm not sure I would rechange it. I'm quite happy with the way things have worked out, and I still maintain my friend and family, and I still have my career as well, and the ability to inspire other women to be greater than perhaps what they would have thought they would be.
A beautiful daughter between both of you.
Yes.
Such a beautiful one, isn't
is.
it? And amazing seeing her pictures. It does still look like there's a place of love for Abdul Samad in your heart. I can see.
I love everyone, Seun, including the man on the moon, if I knew who he was, you know. No, Samad, like I said, Samad will always have my heart. There's no doubt about that. Samad is one of the greatest experiences that I've ever had. I will always love Samad for the
no
rest
regrets
of my days,
whatsoever?
But no regrets whatsoever. Absolutely not. Just happiness and pride in, him as a member of my family.
There are perhaps a lot of things that people don't know about you, and there are perhaps a lot of people who are very much aware about some prominent figures in the Second Republic, and such a prominent figure like your father, Musa Musawa.
Yes.
A lot of people are very, very fond of him. And did he help shape the Hanatu that we know today?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my dad, I think, is the single most significant person, I think, more than anyone in my life. I've done everything, or if I could say that, I would be nothing but for my father. You know, my father was a great man. He was a man. I mean, we've been writing his autobiography, or he started writing his autobiography before he died, and it's up to me to complete it. I've not finished it, but he was an extraordinary man who grew up in poverty. At his very early ages, he grew up in a lot of poverty. At a point, he even sold groundnut. He was selling groundnut on the streets. And thereafter, he forced his family to make him go to school because he just wanted to go to school. He did not understand, doing anything but going to school. So he forced his family to make him go to school. He went to school, and as a result of going to school, from selling groundnut, and he ended up in Cambridge. He spoke fluent Mandarin, Chinese. He did stand-up comedy. He was a creative. At the same time, he was a politician. He was an extraordinary person who wanted his daughters to excel. And he had a lot of daughters. And one of the things that he did, he has a lot of...
About 6 or 7 of you?
Yeah, there's actually about 10 of us. There's 10 of us.
And what number are you?
I'm number 4.
Number 4.
1, 2, 3, yeah, 4. I'm number
Your father
4.
had 10
Yeah, he
girls.
had 2 daughters. Yeah, 10
10
girls.
daughters.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he just wanted each, and he told us from a very young age, you could be, at that time, as a young Fulani woman, they don't tell you that you can be, become a minister or whatever, but he always used to say, you can be this, you can be that, you can be that. And, when he did his politics, the way I speak, people talk about perhaps sometimes my delivery, the way I speak. My dad taught me all that. He taught me how to speak when I was going into politics. He wrote my speeches for me. He taught me how to deliver them. He taught me how to do my art. And so really everything I owe to my dad, and I would not be anything or anyone but for Alhaji Musa Musawa.
A lady, a northerner, a Fulani woman becoming
Fulani
a
herdswoman.
do you have animals? Do you
I do actually, quite a few. Of course.
But do you have your stick?
I've got my stick as well, even though I don't use it. But I do have my sheep, I have my cows, I've got my chickens, but a lot more sheep and cows. Yeah,
so you're really a herdswoman.
I'm a real herdswoman.
A Fulani herdswoman.
A real Fulani herdswoman, absolutely.
But not a Fulani bandit.
No. We not at all a Fulani herdswoman, because those bandits are a new phenomenon. This was not the reputation of Fulanis when we were younger. This has become a very unfortunate, very recent trend that seems to have spread very widely. But, my community, this is not a reflection of who we are as a people.
Interesting. Let me take you to the ministry that you had. Detty December, have you had the opportunity to review it? What are the negatives and the positives out of Detty December of 2025?
I think 2025, we are doing an interrogation of it presently, but there were a lot of positives. I think I would say more positives than negatives. Of course, when you talk about the negatives, we talk about the lack of accommodation, obviously.
The overpricing.
The overpricing.
Of vendors and
exactly,
stuff.
the overpricing of the vendors. I think that was something that even at the office today was an issue on the table that we are looking at. One of the things that we hope to do with December, obviously when you talk about December now in anywhere in the world, Lagos is really the choice destination for anyone to come for December. But we were looking at hoping to expand it, to create more activity and content all around the country. So still in December, you have the Calabar Festival, and you have a number of activities happening in Enugu in the southeast as well, and of course in Plateau State as well. So these are some of the areas that we hope coming in the next Decembers, we would have more of a content for people to come into Nigeria to experience other parts of Nigeria. But certainly Lagos, I think we as a federal government have to support Lagos more in terms of, the funding, the finances that come in for even just the creatives in the industry, to give them more support. The endowment fund that we're hoping to present will allow them to do that. And of course, the infrastructure. the infrastructure is really not there. Bring in more hotels, more five-star hotels and more upper-class hotels. Of course, I know the Ministry of Works is working very hard, and the Lagos State are working very hard in bringing in more roads, the flyovers, so that in terms of the traffic, I know the traffic was not, is always a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah.
So those are some of the negatives, is the traffic and, the overpricing. Certainly, I think the government has to come in to put some sort of to bring some sanity in terms of, the pricing and everything, so that people can come into Nigeria. And, we now don't lose the effect of Nigeria being the place to come in December, because then if we overprice, it now comes into being an elitist sort of thing. And that's not what we are as Nigeria.
Well, I mean, I know that you just finished that and start thinking of how you plan ahead of 2026. Detty December will be a big deal.
Yeah.
But they were starting. I mean, this is a concept that was that Lagos was notable for and drew attention of a lot of people to Lagos State. But the federal government took the initiative to say, we want to support Lagos.
Yeah.
How much of money support did you give Lagos?
We did not give Lagos as much support as we should have. The preparation started not as early as we wanted. And, the federal government did want to, support more. But in all honesty, Lagos State did most of the pushing in terms of the delivery of Detty December. That's not to say that the federal government is not committed. And already we are going to start the push for this year's Detty December in March. In March, the paper that's going to go out to the Federal Executive Council to bring in all the necessary interdependencies that will help in delivering a fantastic festive season, Yuletide season in Lagos, is something that is going to start in March. And of course, by the end of the year, you're going to have the Lagos airport ready. So that's going to be a different experience altogether. Having a new airport coming into Lagos in that new space, that's going to help. And then the federal government is going to come to ensure all the necessary MDAs required to help. That is aviation, that is interior, that is power, that is works, all the different, and of course the NSA's office security, to make sure all the necessary MDAs that need to be in place to deliver a Yuletide season are going to be put in place we start in March.
And those who think the concentration was more of into Lagos, and there's a need to activate different. In fact, Abuja is a fallow ground as far as December, the festivities and entertainment is concerned. That those people who think that Abuja is a place where people also can come. It's a beautiful place to be, and the infrastructure also to welcome people into. In Abuja, are you thinking of diversifying the opportunities?
Yeah, and that's why
for tourists.
Absolutely, that's what I said before. One of our hopes is that in the next year's December, we'll be able to give them more content and activity around the country. So, for example, in the southeast, in Enugu, they do fantastic programming for Christmas, and of course in Plateau State as well. You have rivers. You have the Calabar Festival. You have the Obudu Ranch, which we're hoping, will be up and running at the very top level in global standard. And then, of course, you have Abuja as well. We're still trying to figure out a way to work with the FCT minister to deliver the kind of content and entertainment required to absorb and to entertain people coming into the FCT, because it's not just about coming in to an environment that has fantastic infrastructure. You also have to put up the museums. You also have to put up the arenas and, the different content that people will be able to go around. So, that's something that we're trying to figure out with the FCT minister as to how we can work together to put that in place.
You set a high mark for yourself And
Yeah.
we're hoping how high you want to jump
Yeah.
if you're going to be able to meet up the
Yeah.
target he set for yourself. It was an ambitious target of creating 2 million jobs in the creative and tourism sector by 2030.
30.
And yeah, you said you're hoping to boost Nigeria's GDP by 100 billion US dollars. Um, is this plan still on course?
100% it is on course. 100%. In fact, what we, initially when we came up with those specific numbers, it was an educated guess that we did based on a research that we use benchmark countries that have been able to do that, and then looking at the peculiarity of Nigeria, or the uniqueness of what Nigeria has to offer. So that was a educated guess. And then we now did a proper data mapping. We did this data mapping. We started the data mapping exercise for the Ministry of Art, Culture and Creative Economy, specifically in the area of the creative economy. And then afterwards, when I inherited tourism, we now did one for tourism. And what we were able to find was that the specific arithmetic figures that we're able to deliver in terms of job creation by 2030 is not that 2 million jobs, it's 2.57 million jobs exactly, at least, that we'll be able to deliver by 2030. And that $100 billion contribution to the GDP will also be able to be delivered. In fact, that is the very least we can deliver if we have the ability to put up the different initiatives and the interdependencies come in and help us
But
work
those
with it.
initiatives are not yet activated just
They're
yet.
not yet activated.
So those jobs are still in abeyance.
Yeah, no, there's still jobs. I mean, we haven't been able to, we can't give you exact ABCD, but there's still jobs. Because, for example, you spoke about Detty December, for example. A lot of jobs were created in December, for the Detty December. Now you talk about somewhere like Ojude Oba, that is growing bigger and bigger. That's still under the gamut of the creative industry or the cultural industry in Nigeria. That's still job creation. You have places like Ikogosi, that is, now getting more traction in terms of the traffic of people that go there. That's still job creation. There's a lot of jobs that's been created. And of course, we're working with we've started working with some different state governments. And every single state government, we sign an MOU with the federal government, and they tell us in their own state, in terms of trying to boost domestic tourism, what they want in their state. So, for example, I will use Katsina State as an example. It's one of the MOUs that we signed. So Katsina State wants to amplify the Durbar Festival. So last year, they had a huge Durbar Festival. This year, I know they're hoping to expand it more. That's jobs in every single place. And then the museums, we're bringing up people and, of course, employing them in the museums.
Most of our museums are moribund.
They're moribund because we had
nothing to see.
Yeah, we had 53 or 54 different museums, which didn't make sense because we're not able to maintain them. And this is part of the problem that we've had in Nigeria, is the lack of maintenance culture. Mr. President has been very deliberate in telling us he wants us to put everything together with the private sector, because that's the only way.
It can be
if you're looking at the sustainability factor, is really the private sector. This now has the ability to outlive us, because we know, government is very transient. Is the most transient thing in life is being in government. You're here today, you're gone tomorrow. And so if you don't inculcate the private sector in some of your key initiatives, what happens is once you go, another minister comes and, it's gone. But when you put the private sector, they have an ownership and, it's a business. So what one of our agencies, the NCMM, has done, and fantastic young gentleman as the Director General, is just identifying a few museums that will be able to, now work, of course, with the private sector and see, how we can bring them up. Because, like you said, the state of our museum structure is quite pathetic.
There are a lot of
We'll change
a lot
that.
of people globally. In fact, Nigerian films and music
Yeah.
is perhaps more popular than than Nigeria itself.
Yeah,
in
that's
some
true.
part.
Yeah.
A lot of people have met and sing
Yeah.
and heard Nigerian music, and perhaps not heard or been to Nigeria.
Yeah, that's true.
And so the question is whether or not what this government is doing. You could see what is happening in the U.S. If there is a national game, there is a break in the game to allow American musicians to
Yeah.
perform and actors to come into place.
Yeah.
Those are some of encouragement that you get, and ensuring that the creative sector is empowered.
Yeah.
The question is that this is the very first time in a long time
Yeah.
that you have a ministry dedicated to the creative sector.
Yeah.
Is there a deliberate effort in ensuring that artists in Nigeria, performers, actors in Nigeria are not ripped off? Their monies are not taken above their heads. They're getting value for their talent.
Yeah. So the first thing that we've done from the very beginning is the issue of policy. Intellectual property policy has, before now, for the music sector, was really not something that had been really concentrated on. So we have now developed an intellectual property policy that was recently passed by the Federal Executive Council. We are working together with the Ministry of Trade and Investment and the Ministry of Justice to now implement it. So when you have intellectual property, first and foremost, you have the ability to protect your own intellectual property, right? And to protect your own work. And then we're working together with the Ministry of Justice to make sure the copyright as well, when it comes to copyright, commission, working with the commission to ensure that the copyright, the musicians aren't ripped off in that sense. And of course, we are speaking actively with a lot of musicians, a lot of the music companies, or a lot of the members of that specific industry to now understand, how we as a government can continue to protect them and to protect the Nigerian interest and to ensure that they continue to get ripped off, for example, on YouTube. So the kind of money, most of the content that you have on YouTube is Nigerian content, but most of the money doesn't come to the artist. It doesn't even come to Nigeria. It goes to to YouTube, right? So we're also working on having our own streaming platform, or working with bringing in other streaming platforms, whereby the agreement from the very get-go, there's a huge protection for Nigerian content that is going to go on there. So I think the part of the problem that we've had in the past was from the very beginning, government was not there to protect the artists. And like you said, most of the people in the world that know Nigerians know us through our craft and our artistry, our music, our films, and our food and our fashion, right? And it is because of the industry players, not the government. That has been pushed globally, organically, by the wonderful Nigerians who have had that expression of culture and creativity. So now government having this ministry, first of its kind, the fact that there has never been such a ministry would tell you that's the reason why there was never that protection.
Minister, what do you say to a Davido?
Yeah.
What do you say to a Wizkid, a Burna Boy, an Ashake, or what's the name of this? And I love his music.
Burna?
No, the Kano guy who sang Why You Allah.
Why You Allah.
So what do you say to them on a platform like this that the government is doing? How do you talk to them? What do you say to them that could give them the confidence? Even those who are the upcoming artists, what to do? What do you say? Does the Tinubu government or the government of Nigeria really appreciate it, or is working hard to ensure that their talent is appreciated?
First of all, I have to say to them a huge thank you. The government of President Bola Tinubu sees them and hears them. And that's why from the get-go, the government actually created a ministry for them. Now, this ministry came in and had to start essentially from ground zero. Because, if you have a house and it's beautiful, right? It doesn't have a strong foundation, and you put furniture and beautiful, it collapses. So we've had to start from the very beginning. We have looked at what, for example, South Korea have done in the creative industry. And we have looked at, for example, what Brazil and China have done in the cultural industry. And we have looked at, for example, what Dubai and Saudi Arabia are doing in the tourism industry. And we've had to build those pillars from the very ground. And the fact that you've had to build the pillars from the very ground, it takes a while to get there. So you have to put policy in place. So I spoke to you about IP policy. We have cultural policy. We have creative economy policy. Now we have a tourism policy. All that we have put in place. We have 2 policies on the table of Federal Executive Council. One has gone through. One we are still working on. That's the creative economy policy. So that from the get-go is almost like the constitution of how the industry is going to go. And then you look at the initiatives. So we identified some key initiatives. I think it was 8 key initiatives and 14 initiatives under that we felt would be able to give them the sort of structure that they need. What we want for people in the creative industry, and of course, the likes of David's, Mr. David's and Mr. Burner Boys, and of course, wonderful Whiz Kids and Kiz Daniel, is we want them to continue to thrive, and we want to be able to contribute to them in a way that will make it easier for them. Get recording labels for those young musicians that may not have the kind of reach or the opportunity that some others have had. Get them distribution, the distribution networks. These are just some of the key things that is required. The platform and then the funding, because even the likes of your Mr. Davids could also do with funding in terms of the creativity or the craft or the products that they're going to put out. So we are also working on the funding. The issue of funding is extremely key. We have 2 special purpose vehicles. The CITICO, which is the Creative Industry and Tourism Infrastructure Corporation. And then we have the CEDF, the Creative Economy Development Fund. 2 special purpose vehicles. So we've taken it out of the government bureaucracy. So this one is for infrastructure, this one is for funding. So now we are pulling in funding, international funding coming in, and of course private funding coming in. And all that funding for the CEDF will be injected directly into the industry directly. We're hoping that the CEDF, because we've already taken applications. So in the first half of this year, we'll be dispatching together with the Afrexim Bank, of course, for the CEDF. The CITICO is even, I think, so much more interesting because it is through the CITICO that will be able to provide the infrastructure, which is your arena. The fact that there's no arena in a country that produces Afrobeats, I mean, still, I continue to say is a crying shame. The fact that there's only one 5-star hotel in the capital of Abuja. In the capital of Nigeria, Abuja, Hilton, is another crying shame. Abuja should have 5 or 6 world-class, hotels.
5 stars.
Yes, and we're working on a number, I think on about three of them for Abuja and I think 2 for Lagos. So, I want people in the industry to know, honestly, that we hear you and we see you, and we know that the government has a lot to do in order to prove to you that it is committed in ensuring that you succeed. Our success is hinged on their success.
Let me take you to politics.
Oh, politics. I thought you would forget about politics.
No, but because we're getting to the thick of it.
Crunch time. We're on the precipice.
And you were right in the forefront. You were one of the spokespersons in the 2023 APC Tinubu Shetima campaign. You were very vibrant, very eloquent, and you sold the ticket to Nigerians. And those who heard you speak as though there was nothing better than the Tinubu and the Shetima factor for Nigeria, and which you were successful in, because at least the one you guys won the election. Yeah. After about,
it wasn't only declared; we actually won the election.
After about 3 years in power, do you think the government you so fervently preached and spoke about has fulfilled the promise of the renewed hope that they promised to Nigerians?
So, when you come into a space where you have a lot to fix, what that means is you have a lot to fix, I do believe in the vision and the mission of President Bola Tinubu. I do. And more than anything, I believe in his ability to be as courageous as he is. It cannot be easy to be on the seat of power and to want to pander to a population as opposed to doing what is right for the population. And often when you want to correct things, you have to go through a very challenging period before you come out at the other end. I believe, and I think the president has used this analogy whereby he said, it's like when you're sick and you go for surgery. So when you go for surgery, it's very painful. And it takes a while for you to be able to recuperate. But you will recuperate once you're over that very difficult pain and the recuperation period. So I do believe that the president and his renewed hope agenda and his vision was the right one. I feel it was the courageous one. I think removing fuel subsidy was a very, very difficult choice, but I think obviously it was something that needed to be done. I can see light at the end of the tunnel, and I know that if he continues to keep on the course that he had started, we will come out at the very end with a healthier, a more vibrant Nigeria, a Nigeria that will look to the future, and Nigeria that we can bequeath to a younger generation, something that cannot be the same as before, but something that is better than what we are or who we have been.
Yes, you spoke about the possibilities and the capacity of the Tinubu and Shetima ticket to deliver those renewed hope agenda, but it will take a lot of convincing to Nigerians to make them believe again if you're going back to the polls and saying, okay, yes, this is what we promised in 2023, whether or not you have performed or you have fulfilled them. But you look at what is happening. A prominent daughter of northern Nigeria, you think that you can match in influence, in eloquence, and in terms of stature with the likes of El-Rufai, Atiku Abubakar, and some other top northern political leaders who are determined that President Bola Tinubu and the APC must be taken out of prominence and never to be re-elected.
No, Atiku, Vice President Atiku Abubakar, I mean, he's a formidable, I think all of them, to be fair, all the members of the opposition, to be fair, a formidable opposition, they really are. And I think all of them have obviously played a part in Nigerian politics. So obviously they would have reached the top of their own career in politics, what have you. But honestly, I do not see, especially the way the opposition is emerging, I don't see how the opposition, as it is now, can unseat President Bola Tinubu and Kashim Shettima. I just don't see it. I really don't see it. You have an opposition that is overcrowded, and you have an opposition of men who, what do they say, what do they call them? The man man who must be king or something. Every single member of that opposition is vying for the same spot, and only for that spot, and nothing but that spot. So that in and of itself, I think, creates a recipe, a little bit of a recipe for disaster. And I don't think Nasser El-Rufai, I don't think he's really a person that has the ability to take votes from, I think he's the one I can see from the Northwest. I don't see him being able to take any votes from the Northwest in a way that will injure.
And the Atiku Abubakar factor doesn't scare you?
No, of course, the Atiku Abubakar factor is a factor because Atiku Abubakar is a patriot and a formidable Nigerian. Of course, we're not taking it lightly at all in terms of the fact that we have to do all we can to campaign and to deliver a second term for President Bola Tinubu. And but if you put Mr. Peter Obi together with Atiku Abubakar together, I think, well, somebody has to be president, and somebody. So who are we? I mean, how is that going to be resolved? Is it going to be a combination of the 2019 ticket of Vice President Atiku with a running mate, Peter Obi, in which case I don't think that obedience will be very happy. And if it is the other way, I don't see Peter Obi having the ability to galvanize the core northern votes in the way that he was unable to the last election. And that's, honestly, that's just the truth.
So Atiku Abubakar is no match for Bola Tinubu in your own books in 2027?
I don't think he is a match. I think he's a formidable opponent. But I do not think in 2027 that Vice President Atiku Abubakar, as much as I admire him and he's such a great patriot and, you know, he's like a father of mine, I would say, but I don't think he's a match for President
Even if Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi comes together,
but as who and who?
If Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi come together as on the same ticket, yeah.
Okay, with Peter Obi as the vice president. Mm-hmm. So the obedience that have vowed not to support, that's going to upset a lot of obedience because they're not really willing to take Peter Obi as a vice presidential candidate, are they? So that's going to upset a lot of people that a lot of people are going to have to eat a crow that said they wouldn't support Peter Obi if he became vice presidential candidate.
I don't think...
And if it's the other way round, or rather if Peter Obi is on the ticket as the presidential candidate, then that is the fastest way the opposition is going to lose this election. I promise you. I promise you, Seun, honestly. And if it's the other way, then we have to now question again our sentiment of saying the power should stay in the South for 8 years or for, you know, the full term of... so if it's Atiku on that ticket, so that means ADC does not recognize that the South should maintain power. So that's a betrayal of
there's a lot of
the
debate.
sentiment.
Yeah, there's a lot of debate and quite a few rumors going around. And when elections are approaching, and this is what you see, and it's growing by the day, that the possibility of your party considering to jettison the Muslim ticket and the possibility of thinking that there should be a Christian running mate to President Bola Tinubu in 2027. That means rather that there is a possibility, if the rumors were true, that Vice President Kashim Shettima might be dropped ahead of 2027. What do you think that they are, or how do you think the North will respond to that, the Tinubu on the ballot?
So when you say the North, let me take the core North, the Muslim North, right? Let me take like Katsina, Kano, Kaduna, Kebbi, Jigawa, Zamfara, that Kebbi, Sokoto, that axis. If that was to happen, I think people that say that may not understand the formula or the way politics is. You know, when you talk about politics, the sophistication of politics, the North and the North alone holds more of a key when it comes to the sophistication in politics. Of course, when you talk about education, we're looking at the West Coast, right? And you're talking about trade and maybe Southeast. But the North, that core North, when it comes to politics, honestly, their level of sophistication. Now, Seun, when you see every Megad, let's say the Malams, right? The one thing that you're going to see in his hand is a radio. Since I was small, I talked to you about me being a Fulani herdswoman. I come from a very rural area in Katsina State. All my family, all the people that I know that have never even been to school have a radio. They've never been to school, but they will tell you about the Russian Revolution. That BBC Hausa did what it was supposed to do. It will. My dad worked in BBC Hausa, so I really understood it from that level. When it comes to politics, that northern area really thrives on politics. That's the one thing that they feel. They have a lot of control and power. So when you don't understand politics in the way they do, then you come at your own peril. So when you start making suppositions from the center, saying, let's change it from here and there, not understanding that these people, for them, politics is a way of life. They wait every 4 years to be able to line up. The man with his 4 wives and their 30 children, everybody's going to line up because that's where they know that they can have an impact in position in Nigeria. If you don't understand that and don't understand that for them is something of, it's almost like an identity.
So you think that if the APC toys with the idea of changing Shetima on the ticket, it might be risky?
I think so. I think so. I really do. I think if we toy with changing the construct of what we have now is a problem. If there's no northern, and I'm going to say it as it is, if there's no Hausa Fulani Kanuri Muslim on that ticket, it just creates it's a hurdle, and that's the reality of the way the people think, and that's what I'm telling you.
Are you concerned though? You see the gravity of you see the manner in which a lot of the politicians and everywhere that are moving towards the ADC. Is a tsunami of some sort, politically speaking. The gladiators are on one side, the ruling party is on this side, and their main agenda is get Bola Tinubu, send him back to Lagos. That is their agenda. Are you concerned about
which gladiators? I've not seen many gladiators.
Really? David Mack, Aregbe Shola, Rotimi Amechi, Peter Obi.
That's like 5-6 people. So okay, but if you put it on a chart on APC as well, if those are gladiators, of course they are. And then at the same time, there are a lot of gladiators on APC side as well. So I don't think.
So, but I'm asking about how the ADC is growing to becoming a major political force. Does it worry you?
No, it doesn't. In fact, we're happy about this because we want a democracy. Nobody is happy about one party state. And more than anyone, the president wants democracy to thrive in Nigeria. So it's great that, ADC is sad to see that, that there's no opposition. So there has to be an opposition for our democracy to thrive. So it's good that there's an opposition. But I don't think it's enough to to create. I don't think. Of course, we won't take it for granted, or won't take it lightly, or we will not face the challenge with all manner of seriousness that it requires. But I don't see anything that is gonna, honestly, for now, I don't see anything in the horizon that is going to really create a huge problem, especially when I go back to the issue of Peter Obi and Vice President Atiku. If you put Atiku on the ballot, that means ADC does not even respect the issue of let the South have it, because now you're bringing a Northerner as opposed to being South. And then if you put Peter Obi, he's not going to win the election in the North, I tell you. In the core North, there's nothing that Peter Obi is going to do that's going to get him elections in the core North. In fact, let me tell you what he reminds me of. Peter Obi reminds me of Buhari. I was a Buharist, and I've been a Buharist since 2003. What the movement that Peter Obi has reminds me of Buhari's movement in 2003, 2007, 2011. This is exactly what because we saw it was only Buhari, and that was who we saw winning. It was not until, we had a bridge over, of course, over the Benway, and we had President Bola Tinubu, then Asiwaju Bola Tinubu come in to give us that base support in the South that we were able to win. But on our own, as Buharis, we were unable to deliver. And this is exactly the same with Governor Peter Obi.
But what would you, there are those who think that if President Bola Tinubu and the APC go to the polls today or in the next 3 months, it's going to be a loss.
Yeah, but the poll isn't today.
No, but I'm saying that what will change between now and the election?
It's politics. We're going to do politics. We're going to campaign. Obviously, we've not started campaigning.
The question is...
We'll campaign. Things will change.
Your question is, what can your party show? Your party
we can
and
show
the government
so
today.
many things. We have done... in terms of the economy, like I said, the president has done a lot in terms of turning the economy around. I don't think there was one Nigerian that was happy with the way Nigeria was in the past. Now you have a president that has the courage and the foresight to be able to do things in a different right way, and in a way that will not allow him to deter from doing the right things for his, for his people. And he's done that. And I think we have still a couple of months to go. I think the government has done a lot. And by the time we pull out rollout of all the achievements that we've had, and then let's see. It's not about talking about opposition we want to change. What are you going to change? Let's also interrogate what they have.
All right. I think a way to end this conversation...
No, can I also say, Seun,
Okay.
all these people in the opposition were all part of government at one point, right? So if Nigeria is so bad, each and every one of them should come to the front of the congregation and put their hands up and admit what part. You've been vice president for 8 years. You were governor for 8 years. You were governor for 8 years. You were even minister of FCT for 8 years. You were part of the structure that brought this president. You see, is there any new person? Is there any angel that fell down from heaven and does not have a past in the trajectory of the history that has brought to Nigeria where it is, in that Goliath of conclave that you spoke of, the opposition? There isn't. Each and every one of them, we can.
So you infer that they are complicit.
They're not complicit. They were part and parcel of the canker that brought Nigeria to where it is, that it needed even to be saved in the first place.
So Nigerians should not look their way.
I don't think so. Well, they can look their way, but they should vote for President Bola Tinubu.
Let me conclude by asking you, and I don't know where this is coming from, but there was a tweet which sparked a lot of speculation, that you might resign from your ministerial post this year to pursue a Senate seat in 2027. Is that true?
I have no idea where that tweet came from. In fact, I think somebody told me that there was a young man on Twitter that was making some maybe predictions, and I actually asked my team to ask him to take it down, and he didn't. Absolutely not. I'm in the game to see how I can deliver President Bola Tinubu. That is my focus, and my focus for now is on delivering on the deliverables that Nigerians deserve from the Ministry of Art, Culture, Tourism, and the Creative Economy. That for now is my focus. Towards the election, my focus will be on delivering President Bola Tinubu for a second term.
No Senate ambition, no governorship ambition?
No. Unfortunately, no.
Not in the nearest future.
Absolutely not, Seun. Retirement sounds like a really, really good word at this point.
Honorable Hannatu Musawa, thank you so much indeed, Honorable Minister, for taking time to speak to us on the MyCon podcast. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you,
I appreciate
Seun.
it.
Thank you so much. Hope to have me back soon.
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Elections are coming.
Yeah.
Well, that's our conversation with the Honorable Minister, Hannatu Musawa. And I hope that in every of the conversation, you've been able to glean one or two things, and for yourself as a citizen, an active one, I suppose, getting something to take action on. Well, that's this episode of the MyCon podcast. And thank you so much indeed, everyone, for watching. But don't forget, you can repost, you can share, you can subscribe and follow. That way, the conversation is taken forward. Thank you so much, everyone. Until I see you next time, bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on this edition of MyCon Podcast with Seun Okinbaloye. MyCon Podcast for the independent mind.